Hey folks, Joe Morris with Answers Heaven Speaks. I'm going to be a little congested here. Yesterday was kind of goofy. I didn't have a chance to do the show yesterday. It was kind of a double whammy because my flight was delayed for 1 hour. And then when I got home, I was told that the time had changed. So I had lost an hour. And I lost an hour in flight, and then I lost an hour in time. And then I just wasn't feeling real well. By the time we had run some errands in Topeka, and we finally got back to Los Cocos, it was literally 5 minutes till 5. And I thought I would be going on at 6. But in order to stay firm with the times that are in the United States, I had to go on at 5. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I mean, I was hacking my head off. When I was on the airplane, I actually wore a mask. And it wasn't to keep from getting sick from other people. It was from keeping me from getting other people sick. So, I did have to cough a few times. So I kept that mask over my face, and I coughed and got away from people as much as I could. But it wasn't a good scene. I'm sure people weren't real happy about hearing somebody coughing on the plane, but at least I was wearing the mask. So it was kind of a brutal night last night, and you can still hear me. I'm a little congested, so things happen. And then today's my birthday of all things. I'm 73 years old today. 73. Who would? Boy, oh boy, when I was 50, I thought life was over. I said, okay, I've done everything I needed to do. My kids are grown. They're all gone. And what else is there to life? That was 50. That was 23 years ago. Excuse me. Excuse me again. So anyway, my apology for missing yesterday, but we're going to pick it up again here. I'd let Marisa know that I'm going to be coming on. So what you have to understand where we are in this story now, my whole thing is bringing the story of Jesus Christ, Yeshua ben Joseph, Joshua, call him whatever you may call him, bringing it to life. And today's a real good example of that because the Urantia book gives so much backstory to what's going on. It adds so much to it. And I've seen so many Jesus movies, and they're all pretty much the same. And they're strictly straight from the Bible. And yeah, they glamorize or dramatize certain things and probably have a little bit of poetic license. But the Urantia book is a channel book, and that's what Marisa does. And Marisa now is joining me. Hopefully she'll join me today. But for now on, Marisa will come in, and we're kind of back to the very beginning when we first started, when Marisa first started channeling, and I started getting into it myself because I was an agnostic Christian. I wasn't sure. I really didn't know, and I was trying real hard. I was going to men's groups and other things and Bible study and just trying to get that feeling, of just becoming one with Christ. And it was a real hard thing to do. And yes, I had read the Urantia book and I was amazed by it, absolutely amazed by it. But I had also read the Bible from cover to cover many times as well, 3 times. And I just couldn't get the feeling. I just, you want that euphoria or something to come over you, or just throw it away and just don't bother with it. And it wasn't until Marisa's story, and that's well told in our book, Answers Heaven Speaks. It was our very first book. And it gives a story of my life, where I was at that time, and Marisa's life, where she was at that time, and what had happened so that she could eventually become a clairvoyant channeler. And from that, that was back in late 2011, beginning of 2012. And from that, we've just had so many sessions, many sessions, but we haven't transcribed them all. I mean, there's so much that is still up there, locked away in recording somewhere, with so much information. But we ended up writing together about 8 books, 7 books, 9 books. I don't even remember how many books we got, because we have some in draft form right now that we haven't even published. And but our very first approach to this was called Bridging the Gap Between Christianity and Spirituality. And when we first started doing this, Christians didn't want to pay any attention to me. My pastors didn't want to pay any attention to me. They said, you can't talk to the other side. And we'd ask them, well, what would you do if you saw Jesus and Jesus was talking to you? And that usually would shut them up. In one case, the pastor said, oh, I hear Jesus all the time. And I said, well, why don't you write a book? Why don't you write a book? Excuse me. I hope I am not going to be doing this all the way through the show. So anyway, bridging the gap between spirituality and Christianity, Christianity and spirituality. So Christians weren't going to have anything to do with me. They thought I was on a slippery slope to hell by doing channeling sessions with Marisa. And then the spiritualists, people who are spiritual in nature but not religious, really didn't want to hear anything about Jesus either. So Marisa and I were like on an island. It's like we had this great big piece of gold, and we were stuck on an island with we couldn't do anything with it. We couldn't sell it to anybody. We couldn't buy any goods. Couldn't do anything. All we had was a great big piece of gold. An island with lots of coconuts, and that's what we lived on. I mean, that's literally what we thought, because there was nowhere to go with this at all. But things are changing. We're finding that the country is probably equally spiritual and Christian. Yes, there are Jews, there are Muslims of the Islamic faith. Yes, there are a lot of people who are into Buddhism, Taoism, but Christianity and Judaism is what founded our country, the United States. And it probably wouldn't have been so much with the Jews in the founding, but a little known fact is that there was one very wealthy Jew, one very, very wealthy Jew that literally paid for the Revolutionary War against England. I mean, where'd they get the money? They didn't have the money to make guns and ammunition and what have you to get their freedom. But there was one Jewish man who had a lot of money back in those days, and he literally funded the war. So we are a Judaic Christian country. And as time has slipped by, as different generations come along, they fall out of the church. They don't, they're forced into the church when they're young, and then they just don't have it in them to go to the church because they have different feelings about the church. And you're forever hearing things in the news about pastors that just do the doggonest, weirdest things, and they get thrown in jail, and then they steal all the money, and then we find out about the Catholic faith and all the priests and all the crap that they were doing and everything. And it's probably no wonder why people have lost faith basically in the church. And I myself, living down here in Mexico, I don't go to church anymore. And that's why I do what I do. I'm trying to give something back. And by using my tithes to extend this story as far and wide as I can, I feel like I'm doing God's work and not just paying the electric bill of a church or the salary of a secretary. I mean, that's not going to get the word out. So I want to thank everybody that comes on here. We've got probably a pretty regular following of, and I don't want to talk numbers, really, because that either sounds real good or it sounds real bad, considering how vast and wide the internet is. But we're getting to the point where we can reach upwards about 25,000 people a day, and that's from the Facebook Meta platform. And we'll get anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 people who are watching this on a regular basis. And I go, God, yeah, that's great. There are people who are really interested in following what the story of Christ is. And like I started to say, today's a perfect example, and I'm hoping I can get through all of it. And I'm going to keep an eye out to see if Marisa pops in. Again, I can deal with the Christian part of it. Read a portion of the Bible, read the Urantia book, tell the story, what have you. Where Marisa comes in, and Marisa channels Jesus. She channels Jesus and Peter, and Lord knows who else may come into the story. She protects herself through prayer before she gets on here. I protect myself through prayer before I get on here. But the story of Lazarus is only found, and we all remember the raising of Lazarus. In fact, Lazarus, the name Lazarus, has also become a verb. I mean, the name Lazarus has become a verb because it indicates something that comes to life, comes back to life. And so they call it the Lazarus effect or something like that. And I think that was originally founded by scientists who would find microorganisms or something that had disappeared, many millions of years ago and then showed up again, a couple million years later. And they go, well, that's the Lazarus effect. So anyway, what we're going to do, we're going to get into John 11. That's the entirety of the story of Lazarus in the Gospel, in the New Testament. I think there's maybe one reference in Luke, but it's enjoined with something else, but it doesn't give the story. So John is the only one that gives the story of Lazarus, and it's in a grand total of 44 verses. That's it. And it won't take me but 5 minutes to go through that. So we're going to go through that, and then that's going to show you how compressed the story is in the Bible. And then we're going to find out all the backstory, everything that led up to the Lazarus resurrection. And it wasn't the first time that somebody had been raised in the Bible either. And I think Elijah and Elisha, I always get them mixed up, but they're good friends in the Old Testament. And both Elijah raised a dead boy, and Elisha raised another dead boy. And they did it both the same way, by laying across the body and saying, God, raise this child, raise this child. And in both those cases, he was raised. Jesus, in a couple of his miracles, they were a little bit downplayed in the Urantia book. They're saying, they really weren't dead. They were like comatose. But one was the son, if you remember, I think the centurion. And there was another one that was the son of a servant. And Jesus had raised both of those. One was on its way to the grave. So Jesus had already raised a couple dead people. But the one with Lazarus was something different. And that's because you got to get people buried within 3 days. Rigor mortis sets in. You got to get them into the ground within those first 3 days. And there's a Jewish custom that says that that's because there's a possibility that the person could possibly come back alive. Who knows? But by the fourth day, forget it. It's done. It's done. It's over. The spirit has left the body and done. And so that's why Lazarus was a little different, because he was raised on the fourth day and not the third day. So let's get into that. Let's just get into John 11, and then we'll get into the backstory. So this is John 11, the death of Lazarus. Now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. And then in parentheses it says, this Mary, whose brother Lazarus lay now sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. And we remember that. That was, probably about a month ago in our stories. So the sisters sent word to Jesus, Lord, the one you love is sick. When he heard this, Jesus said, this sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days. And then he said to his disciples, if you remember right in our Urantia story, he was up in Jericho, which is just north of Jerusalem. Bethany is just southeast of Jerusalem. So when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was for 2 more days. And then he said to his disciples, let us go back to Judea. But Rabbi, they said a short while ago, the Jews there tried to stone you, and yet you are going to go back? And Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours of daylight? Anyone who walks in the daytime will not stumble, for they see by the world's light. It is when a person walks at night that they stumble, for they have no light. After he had said this, he went on to tell them, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going there to wake him up. And his disciples replied, Lord, if he sleeps, he will get better. Jesus had been speaking of his death, but his disciples thought, well, he meant just natural sleep. So then he told them plainly, Lazarus is dead. And for your sake, I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe, but let us go to him. Then Thomas, also known as Didymus, said to the rest of the disciples, let us also go, that we may die with him. Thomas. So on his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had just been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask. And Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. And Martha answered, I know he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. And then Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? Yes, Lord, she replied. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into the world. After she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. The teacher's here, she said, and is asking for you. When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house, comforting her, they really weren't comforting her, you'll find out, noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. In the Urantia book, it says that he wept as well. So he says, where have you laid him? Come and see, Lord, they replied. And then Jesus wept. Jesus wept. The Urantia book's going to concur with that. Then the Jews said, see how he loved him? But some of them said, could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying? So Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb, and it was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. And he said, take away the stone. But Lord, said Martha, the sister of the dead man, by this time there is a bad odor, for he has been there for 4 days. Then Jesus said, did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? So they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me. When he had said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. And then the dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth around his face. And Jesus said to them, take off the grave clothes and let him go. And then that leads right into the plot to kill Jesus. So That is the entirety of the Lazarus story. Let's see how the Urantia book goes through that story. It was shortly after noon when Martha started out to meet. This is the Urantia book. Get rid of some of that glare. It was shortly, and how are we doing on time? Let's see if we can get through this. I hope we can. I think we can. And I'm watching to see if Marisa comes in. Not sure if she's going to make it today. We'll soon find out. It was shortly after noon when Martha started out to meet Jesus as he came over the brow of the hill near Bethany. Her brother Lazarus had been dead 4 days and had been laid away in their private tomb at the far end of the garden late on Sunday afternoon. The stone at the entrance of the tomb had been rolled in place on the morning of this day, Thursday. When Martha and Mary sent word to Jesus concerning Lazarus' illness, they were confident the Master would do something about it. They knew that their brother was desperately sick, and though they had hardly dared hope that Jesus would leave his work of teaching and preaching to come to their assistance, they had such confidence in his power to heal disease that they thought he would just speak the curative words and Lazarus would immediately be made whole. And when Lazarus died a few hours after the messenger left Bethany for Philadelphia, they reasoned that it was because the Master did not learn of their brother's illness until it was just too late, until he had already been dead for several hours. See, the biblical account doesn't even mention that the messenger was one of David's messengers, David Zebedee. But they, with all of their believing friends, were greatly puzzled by the message which the runner brought back Tuesday forenoon when he reached Bethany. The messenger insisted that he heard Jesus say, "This sickness is really not to the death." Neither could they understand why he sent no word to them, nor otherwise proffered assistance. Many friends from nearby hamlets and others from Jerusalem came over to comfort the sorrow-stricken sisters. Lazarus and his sisters were the children of a well-to-do and honorable Jew, one who had been the leading resident of the little village of Bethany. And notwithstanding that all three had long been ardent followers of Jesus, they were highly respected by all who knew them. They had inherited extensive vineyards and olive orchards in this vicinity, and that they were wealthy was further attested by the fact that they could afford a private burial tomb on their own premises. Both of their parents had already been laid away in this tomb. That would seem kind of strange, wouldn't it? To be burying your family members next to your mom and your dad in that same grave, and they've long since deteriorated. But I guess they're all wrapped in linens anyway, so hard to tell. Here comes Drew. Drew's coming back. That means the puppies are here too. So they're going to start barking. Mary had given up the thought of Jesus coming and was abandoned to her grief. But Martha clung to the hope that Jesus would come, even up to the time on that very morning when they rolled the stone in front of the tomb and sealed the entrance. Even then she instructed a neighbor lad to keep watch down the Jericho road from the brow of the hill to the cast to the east of Bethany. And it was this lad who brought tidings to Martha that Jesus and his friends were now approaching. When Martha met Jesus, she fell at his feet, exclaiming, "Master, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." Many fears were passing through Martha's mind, but she gave expression to no doubt, nor did she venture to criticize or question the Master's conduct as related to Lazarus' death. When she had spoken, Jesus reached down and, lifting her upon her feet, said, "Only have faith, Martha, and your brother shall rise again." I'm trying to see if Marisa's coming in. Then answered Martha, "I know that he will rise again in the resurrection of the last days. And even now I believe that whatever you shall ask of God our Father will give it to you." Then said Jesus, looking straight into the eyes of Martha, "I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he dies, yet shall he live. In truth, whosoever lives and believes in me shall never really die. Martha, do you believe this? And Martha answered the Master, yes, I have long believed that you are the deliverer, the Son of the living God, even he who should come to this world. Jesus, having inquired for Mary, Martha went at once into the house and, whispering to her sister, said, the Master is here. Martha talking to Mary. Now Mary's stuck in her house with all these so-called mourning Jews, but they're not really mourning. They just want her money. So Martha says, the Master is here, and he's asked for you, Mary. And when Mary heard this, she rose up quickly and hastened out to meet Jesus, who still tarried at the place some distance from the house where Martha had first met him. The friends who were with Mary, seeking to comfort her, when they saw that she rose up quickly and went out, followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to weep. Many of those present were Jesus' bitter enemies. That is why Martha had come out to meet him alone, and also why she went in secretly to inform Mary that he had asked for her. Martha, while craving to see Jesus, desired to avoid any possible unpleasantness which might be caused by his coming suddenly into the midst of a large group of his Jerusalem enemies. It had been Martha's intention to remain in the house with her friends while Mary went to greet Jesus, but in this she failed, for they all followed Mary.
Happy birthday to you.
Oh my gosh, I'm doing my show.
Happy birthday to you.
Oh, show me.
Happy birthday, dear Papa.
Oh,
Happy birthday to you.
oh, how exciting. Thank you, you guys. Whoa, it went out just in time.
Happy birthday, Papi. Happy birthday.
Thank you, sweetie. I appreciate it. Thanks, sweetheart. Okay, I'll eat it later. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh my gosh, nice little interruption there. Oh, Tony, can you go ahead and close up that door, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, birthdays! Don't you just love birthdays? Oh God. Oh, and thanks to all those who wrote and wished me a happy birthday today. I really appreciate it. Boy, oh boy. The numbers keep getting bigger and bigger, don't they? Ay, 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 ay. Whoa. But as they say, 70s are the new 50s, right? And I was saying earlier, oh my gosh, I thought I was done when I was 50. But probably when I get to 80s, they'll go, oh, 80s are the new 60s. So, Lord knows. All I know is to people who are younger than me, I'm ancient. But anyway, let's get back on. So far, you can see there's so much backstory to the whole Lazarus thing. I mean, it's very kind of short and concise there in John's account. And Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they didn't even have a story at all. Okay, so let's see. Where are we out here? Oh, let's see. Happy birthday to you. It had been Martha's intention to remain in the house with their friends while Mary went to greet Jesus, but in this she failed, for they all followed Mary and so found themselves unexpectedly in the presence of the Master. Martha led Mary to Jesus, and when she saw him, she fell at his feet, exclaiming, "If you had only been here, my brother would not have died." And when Jesus saw how they all grieved over the death of Lazarus, his soul was moved with compassion. When the mourners saw that Mary had gone to greet Jesus, they withdrew for a short distance while both Martha and Mary talked with the Master and received further words of comfort and exhortation to maintain strong faith in the Father and complete resignation to his divine will. The human mind of Jesus was mightily moved by the contention between his love for Lazarus and the bereaved sisters and his disdain and contempt for the outward show of affection manifested by some of these unbelieving believers and murderously intentioned Jews. So Jesus indignantly resented the show of force and outward mourning for Lazarus by some of these professed friends, inasmuch as such false sorrow was associated in their hearts with so much bitter enmity towards himself. Some of these Jews, however, were sincere in their mournings, for they were actually real friends of the family, but just a small portion of them. So at the tomb of Lazarus, after Jesus had spent a few moments in comforting Martha and Mary, apart from the mourners, he asked them, "Where have you laid him?" Then Martha said, "Come and see." And as the master followed on in silence with the two sorrowing sisters, he wept. When the friendly Jews who followed after them saw his tears, one of them said, "Behold, how he loved him. Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind have kept this man from dying?" By this time they were standing before the family tomb, a small natural cave or declivity in the ledge of rock, which rose up some 30 feet at the far end of the garden plot. And it's difficult to explain to human minds. This is now we're getting the viewpoint of the midwayers here, who's being channeled. It is difficult to explain to human minds just why Jesus wept. While we have access to the registration of the combined human emotions and divine thoughts as of record in the mind of the personalized adjuster is that, I always say, that Spirit of God is like a GPS, it's like a hard drive in your head, and that is your personalized adjuster. We're not altogether certain about the real cause of these emotional manifestations. We are inclined to believe that Jesus wept because of a number of thoughts and feelings which were going through his mind at this time, such as, 1, he felt a genuine and sorrowful sympathy for Martha and Mary. He had a real and deep human affection for these two sisters who had lost their brother. Number 2, he was perturbed in his mind by the presence of the crowd of mourners, some sincere and some merely pretenders. He always resented these outward exhibitions of mourning. He knew the sisters loved their brother and had faith in the survival of believers. These conflicting emotions may possibly explain why he groaned as they came near the tomb. So he groaned. Number 3, he truly hesitated about bringing Lazarus back to the mortal life. His sisters really needed him, but Jesus regretted having to summon his friend back to experience the bitter persecution which he well knew Lazarus would have to endure as a result of being the subject of the greatest of all demonstrations of the divine power of the Son of Man, raising somebody from the dead. And in doing a little research on that, the Eastern Greek Church, I think that's what it is, the Eastern Greek Church, goes a little bit deeper also in their Bible. And it says that Lazarus never smiled. He lived 30 more years after his resurrection, and he not once smiled, because they say that he had spent 4 days in hell, and he was afraid that the beings from hell would come back to him if he showed any gladness for his life. I don't know, that's the way the story goes, but Lazarus, even though he was raised from the dead, he may not have been real happy about it. For most people, even Marisa, I mean, and you read about people who have had near-death experiences. They've died either in the hospital or they're in a car accident or something, and they go over to the other side and they don't want to come back. They don't want to come back. They go, okay, I like it better here. I like it here better than I like it down there. I mean, there's too much crap going on down there. And they don't like coming back. They just don't. I remember a young pastor, wrote a book about dying. And because he was a young pastor, he had young children. He was the pastor of his own church, successful by all means. And he had a heart attack or something and died in his bed. And he said it was so beautiful. He said it was just so fabulous on the other side that he even forgot about his children and his wife and his ministry and everything. There was just something so euphoric about being on the other side. He didn't even want to go back. He didn't want to go back, even though he had young children and a wife and a church and a congregation, the whole works. He didn't want to go back. So I got to believe it. And then when he went back, he knew his life had completely changed. He knew that death was not something to fear, that death was actually just the next step in our journey. That's all. It's just the next step in our journey. The sad thing is just leaving people behind. That's the whole thing. And then your friends and your families, when they know they can't see you anymore, you feel bad for them. You feel bad for how bad they're going to feel. But they're going to feel it too. They're going to eventually die too. Nobody gets away with that. But Lazarus was not a happy man. He was not a happy camper. But anyway, let's go on. And now we may relate an interesting and instructive fact. Although this narrative unfolds as an apparently natural and normal event in human affairs, it has some very interesting sidelights. While the messenger went to Jesus on Sunday telling him of Lazarus' illness, and while Jesus sent word that it was, quote, not to the death, at the same time he went in person up to Bethany and even asked the sisters, "Where have you laid him?" Even though all of this seems to indicate that the master was proceeding after the manner of this life and in accordance with the limited knowledge of the human mind, nevertheless, the records of the universe reveal that Jesus is personalized adjuster, the Spirit from the Father itself, issued orders, personalized adjuster, issued orders for the indefinite detention of Lazarus' thought adjuster on the planet. So when we die, we go through the light or whatever, and we get to the other side. That is our soul, our spirit, all passing on to the next stage. In this case, that spirit that lived within Jesus was telling Lazarus' spirit, hang around for a while. Don't go. Just don't go. Because they know what was going to be going on. And this is the way the midways are explaining it. So for the indefinite detention of Lazarus' thought adjuster on the planet, subsequent to Lazarus' death, and that this order was made of record just 15 minutes before Lazarus breathed his last breath. Did the divine mind of Jesus know, even before Lazarus died, that he would raise him from the dead? We don't know. The midways, they don't know. We know only what we are herewith placing on record. Many of Jesus' enemies were inclined to sneer at his manifestations of affection, and they said among themselves, if he thought so much of this man, why did he tarry so long before coming to Bethany? If he is what they claim, why did he not save his dear friend? What is the good of healing strangers in Galilee if he cannot save those whom he actually loves? And in many other ways they mocked and made light of the teachings and works of Jesus. And so on this Thursday afternoon at about 2:30 was the stage all set in this little hamlet of Bethany for the enactment of the greatest of all works connected with the earth ministry of Michael, our universe builder, creator. The ministry of Michael of Nebadon, the greatest manifestation of divine power during his incarnation in the flesh, since his own resurrection occurred after he had been liberated from the bonds of mortal habitation. The small group assembled before Lazarus' tomb little realized the presence near at hand of a vast concourse of all orders of celestial beings assembled under the leadership of Gabriel, and now in waiting by direction of the personalized adjuster of Jesus. Vibrating with, can you just picture this? I know I hear Marisa mention this all the time. She goes, oh my gosh, there's so many people here. There's just crowds of people here. She visually sees in her clairvoyant state, her channeled state, she sees everybody that's there, like a big crowd. Well, that's what was happening with Jesus at this time as well. There's just this big crowd of universe personalities, all headed up by number 2 in charge, and that was Gabriel. So all of them are there. You can't see him. They couldn't see him. Nobody could see him. Jesus knew they were there, because he was the creator of all of them. By direction of the personalized gesture of Jesus, vibrating with expectancy and ready to execute the bidding of their beloved sovereign. So it's these universe personalities who are the ones that have to breathe the life through their science or whatever it is they do to bring Lazarus back to life. But his spirit had not yet left his body. And that was at the request of Jesus's thought adjuster, his spirit. So you can see how much longer this is than the Bible account. When Jesus spoke those words of command, "Take away the stone," the assembled celestial hosts made ready to enact the drama of the resurrection of Lazarus in the likeness of his mortal flesh. Such a form of resurrection involves difficulties of execution which far transcend the usual technique of the resurrection of mortal creatures in Urantia form, and requires far more celestial personalities and a far greater organization of universe facilities. So it's a big deal. It's a big job. It's a big job is what it is, to bring somebody back from the dead. But they're all together there, all these great universe creatures, persons, personalities. They're all there, ready to do the bidding of Jesus. So when Martha and Mary heard this command of Jesus directing that the stone in front of the tomb be rolled away, they were filled with conflicting emotions. Mary hoped that Lazarus was to be raised from the dead, but Martha, while to some extent sharing her sister's faith, was more exercised by the fear that Lazarus would not be presentable in his appearance to Jesus, the apostles, and their friends. Said Martha, "Must we roll away the stone? My brother has now been dead for 4 days, so that by this time decay of the body has begun." Martha also said this because she was not certain as to why the Master had requested that the stone be removed. She thought maybe Jesus wanted only to take one last look at Lazarus. She was not settled and constant in her attitude, and as they hesitated to roll away the stone, Jesus said, "Did I not tell you at the first that this sickness was not to the death? Have I not come to fulfill my promise? And after I came to you, did I not say that if you would only believe, you should see the glory of God?" Let's see if Marisa's coming in. I don't think Marisa's gonna make it today. And how are we doing on time? Oh gosh, I think we're gonna be able to get through this. Nope, I don't see Marisa in there. So she must be busy. That's the way things are when you're a young mom. Okay, so let's see. And after I came to you, did I not say that if you would only believe, you should see the glory of God? Wherefore do you doubt? Wherefore do you doubt? How long before you will believe and obey? When Jesus had finished speaking, his apostles, with the assistance of willing neighbors, laid hold upon the stone and rolled it away from the entrance to the tomb. And it was the common belief of the Jews that the drop of gall, G-A-L-L, gall, on the point of the sword of the angel of death began to work by the end of the 3rd day. Let me read that again. It was the common belief of the Jews that the drop of gall on the point of the sword of the angel of death began to work by the end of the 3rd day. That's really funny because they don't even believe in angels, but they believe in an angel of death. Go figure. So that was taking full effect on the 4th day. They allowed that the soul of man might linger about the tomb until the end of the 3rd day, seeking to reanimate the dead body. But they firmly believed that such a soul had gone on to the abode of departed spirits ere the 4th day had dawned. These beliefs and opinions regarding the dead and the departure of the spirits of the dead served to make sure in the minds of all who were now present at Lazarus' tomb, and subsequently to all who might hear of what was about to occur, that this was really and truly a case of the raising of the dead by the personal working of the one who declared he was, quote, the resurrection and the life. So as this company of some 45 mortals stood before the tomb, they could dimly see the form of Lazarus wrapped in linen bandages, resting on the right lower niche of the burial cave. While these earth creatures stood there in almost breathless silence, a vast host of celestial beings had swung into their places, preparatory to answering the signal for action when it should be given by Gabriel, their commander. So Jesus lifted up his eyes and he said, Father, I am thankful that you heard and granted my request. I know that you always hear me, but because of those who stand here with me, I thus speak with you, that they may believe that you have sent me into the world. Don't forget, there's all his enemies, his Pharisee enemies are there. And that they may know that you are working with me in that which we are about to do. And when he had prayed, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. Though these human observers remained motionless, the vast celestial host was all astir in unified action in obedience to the Creator's word. In just 12 seconds of earth time, 12 seconds of earth time, the hitherto lifeless form of Lazarus began to move and presently sat up on the edge of the stone shelf whereon it had rested. His body was bound about with grave cloths, and his face was covered with a napkin. And as he stood up before them alive, Jesus said, Loose him and let him go. All save the apostles with Martha and Mary fled to the house. They were pale with fright and overcome with astonishment. While some tarried, many hastened to their homes. Lazarus greeted Jesus and the apostles and asked the meaning of the grave cloths and why he had awakened in the garden. Jesus and the apostles drew to one side while Martha told Lazarus of his death, burial, and resurrection. She had to explain to him that he had died on Sunday and was now brought back to life on Thursday, inasmuch as he had no consciousness of time since falling asleep in death. As Lazarus came out of the tomb, the personalized adjuster of Jesus, now chief of his kind in this local universe, gave command to the former adjuster of Lazarus, now in waiting, to resume abode in the mind and soul of the resurrected man. Then went Lazarus over to Jesus and with his sisters knelt at the Master's feet to give thanks and offer praise to God. Jesus, taking Lazarus by the hand, lifted him up, saying, My son, what has happened to you will also be experienced by all who believe this gospel, except that they shall be resurrected in a more glorious form. You shall be a living witness of the truth which I spoke. I am the resurrection and the life. But let us all now go into the house and partake of nourishment for these physical bodies. And as they walked toward the house, Gabriel dismissed the extra groups of the assembled heavenly hosts, while he made record of the first instance on earth and the last, where a mortal creature had been resurrected in the likeness of the physical body of death. Lazarus could hardly comprehend what had occurred. He knew he had been very sick, but he could recall only that he had fallen asleep and then been awakened. He was never able to tell anything about these 4 days in the tomb because he was wholly unconscious. This is different. This is different than what the Greeks believed happened. Don't know. We don't know. We don't know what's true. Time is non-existent to those who sleep the sleep of death. Though many believed in Jesus as a result of this mighty work, others only hardened their hearts the more to reject him. By noon the next day, the story had spread over all of Jerusalem, and scores of men and women went to Bethany to look upon Lazarus and talk with him. And the alarmed and disconcerted Pharisees hastily called a meeting. Of course they did. They hastily called a meeting of the Sanhedrin that they might determine what should be done about these new developments. They're going, oh my God, he just raised somebody from the dead. Oh my God, should we kill him? He'll probably come back to life again. Lord knows. How are we doing on time? Still got a few minutes. Although I think I may just get into this. I really kind of wanted to focus in on Lazarus, and that's it, and his raising. But just like in John 11, let me jump back over to John 11, because now we're going to start talking about the Pharisees again. And there he is. Jesus is back in Jerusalem. Well, he's a couple miles away, and that's it. The apostles are really mad at him for putting himself at risk again of getting arrested. So let me read the rest of John 11. The story of Lazarus was 44 verses, starting with 45. There aren't many. There's a few here. Therefore, many of the Jews who had come to visit Mary and had seen what Jesus did believed in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. Then the chief priests and the Pharisees called a meeting of the Sanhedrin. That's right where we are in the story. John does cover it pretty good. And they say, what are we accomplishing? They asked. Here is this man performing many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him. And then the Romans will come and take away both our temple and our nation. I mean, they're afraid of losing their faith and their entire civilization because of Jesus. Then one of them, named Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, spoke up. You know nothing at all. You do not realize that it is better for you that one man die for the people than that the whole nation perish. So it's Caiaphas that wants Jesus dead to save the whole nation of the Jews. He did not say this on his own, but as high priest that year he prophesied that Jesus would die for the Jewish nation. And not only for that nation, but also for the scattered children of God, to bring them together and make them one. So from that day on, they plotted to take his life. This is John 11. Therefore, Jesus no longer moved about publicly among the people of Judea. Instead, he withdrew to a region near the wilderness, to a village called Ephraim. Let's see if that's what the Urantia book says, where he stayed with his disciples. When it was almost time for the Jewish Passover, many went up from the country to Jerusalem for their ceremonial cleansing before the Passover. And they kept looking for Jesus, and as they stood in the temple courts, they asked one another, what do you think? Isn't he going to come to the festival at all? But the chief priests and the Pharisees had given orders that anyone who found out where Jesus was should report it so that they might arrest him. And that's the end of John 11. And that's kind of where we are now in the Urantia book, because he's now lifted Lazarus up. And let's see, is this the right one? Nope. Praying mission. Nope. Yeah. So the meeting of the Sanhedrin. Okay, we just covered that in the biblical sense. But we're too far along right now, and I don't really want to start it. I'm going to start in on this tomorrow. So it'll be easy kind of to explain where we are when I get started tomorrow. I'm sorry Marisa didn't come in today. Again, this is bridging the gap between Christianity and spirituality. And Marisa would normally, as she's done over the last couple of weeks while I was in California and Nevada, I would read and give the story, and she would channel Jesus or Peter or whoever it was that wanted to add something to the story. So that's not going to happen today. So hopefully Marisa will join us tomorrow, and we'll continue bridging the gap between all those Christians out there who don't believe in channeling, Their pastors all tell them, no, 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 no. And they show every place in the Bible where it says, don't talk to spirits, don't talk to the other side, what have you. But I really don't think Jesus would allow this all to be going on. He wouldn't be allowing this to go on if he thought that it was evil to talk to him. I think he wants this world to save itself. I really think that the book of Revelation is currently in effect. I think it has been for at least 7 years now, because we know the white horse came and left, and we have the red horse with us right now, and the calamities and all the things that are going to take place during the reign of the red horse have yet to come, and they could come very soon, because there's just a lot of strife going on. I feel bad for the Brazilians. They didn't vote in the president that they got, because they work with those stinking machines, and the machines selected who was going to be their president. The people didn't elect. I don't even want to say the guy's name. He used to be the president. He was president for 2 terms, but now he's older. They all know he's communist, and I don't know. I feel bad for the people in Brazil, because their life is going to get really weird now. They're going to lose their democracy. Last democracy, literally, in South America. But you know what? I have a big following of people in South America that watch and listen to this. And so they're holding to the faith that they can kill the body, but they can't kill the soul. And so we have to go in faith every day that Christ lives within us, the Father lives within us, the Holy Spirit lives within us, our soul lives within us. It's pretty crowded. It's actually very crowded within us. And then outside of us, we have all the angels that are assigned to us as well. We also have family members from our soul family who are keeping an eye on you and keeping an eye on me. So, I mean, we got this team. I keep calling it a team. The team works just like in the raising of Lazarus. It took a team in the matter of 12 seconds to do their thing to bring Lazarus back to life. If they can bring Lazarus back to life, they can keep you from getting hit by a car. They know you're going to get hit by a car, so they're going to cause you to leave your keys in the house, and when you get to your car, go, oh gosh, I got to get my keys. So you go back and get your keys, and you don't even know that you were saved from dying. You just don't know. You don't know. They know. We don't know. So have faith. Just have faith. No matter what you're seeing. Oh my gosh. I think Marisa might be coming in now. If I only knew where my glasses are. Let me see if that's Marisa. Let me see if she's got anything to say. Let me see. Yes. Let me see. Let's see if she comes on. Marisa, are you there? Oh, you say you've been here. Okay, gosh, had a bunch of people watching live today. I just don't see it coming on though. Happy birthday. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh. Well, Marisa, you're not coming on. Let's see why. Marisa Morris, approve. Ask Marisa to join the live. Yeah. Good, good. She's adding. She's being added. Let's see if Marissa's got anything to add to today's, to today. There you are.
Hello.
Hooray.
I'm like, hello, I'm the better daughter. I'll sing louder.
Oh, gosh. You must have seen Tawny and Jude.
Yes, I was like, she's trying to one-up me. She can't do a Facebook post and say she's the better daughter, so she had to come in and sing during your Facebook post.
That's okay. I love them to death. So, and I love you to death, too. I mean, you're all my family. You're all my
Yes,
kids.
I know. I was just joking around doing my competitive thing. But happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Everyone says happy birthday here too, Jeff and the kids and everything. I'm over at the office right now.
Oh,
Doing some
okay.
stuff, and I'm gonna go home. But I just wanted to pop in and say happy birthday. And then I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
and remember, guys, when you were saying that you're old, and Peter says, try being 1,999 years old.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
Peter's been walking around acting like he's an old guy, saying that he's 1,000. But that doesn't make any sense if he's 1,999 years old. That means he was born after 2000, or
Oh,
after the Christ. Or that means that he was born after the birth of Christ or whatever.
yeah, no, he was about the same age as Jesus. Jesus was born on twin was it
Did he die
no
when he was
eight
23 or
eight
24?
in 8 BC. He was born in 8 BC.
Oh, so
AD is Anto Dominion or something like that.
not
I'm not
before
sure
Christ.
what it means and why they started a new calendar, but they did. And so Jesus and Peter were born just about the same time. So
That means he
they're,
probably died at like 32 or 33 years old. So that would make sense because 19999 would be 23 years.
yeah,
That'd be 23 plus another 8. So that's about 32 years old. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he was probably like 32 or 33 when he died.
yeah,
And that's when we become our soul. And so if people don't have their soul waiting for them, they, in essence, they don't have their Christ body waiting for them, they die. Like
okay.
if you don't have a soul, that's why so many people, like musicians and stuff, all die between ages 27 to 33, because that's like the
Yeah,
time when you.
somebody else. There's just I see every day I see these young people dying. It
Mhm.
makes no sense. And they go, gee, I wonder why he died. Oh, he had a bad heart. Well,
Well, it's because they don't have
come
the
on.
when you get to a certain point, you need to have an energy source over there, and your soul's your energy source. And if you
Yeah,
get or something like that and change the frequency of your whole body and your DNA changes and everything, your soul can't resonate. So it just kind of moves to the side. So you're here, your soul's there, and then you have nothing to tie into and you don't stay alive. You stay alive over there, you go back to your soul. Oh, that's interesting. So people that are passing away right now, they're going back to their soul and they're living the life of their soul's path. They were just so far off their soul's path. Not that they don't have a soul, but they didn't have a soul to it's like almost like we ride inside. Jesus is saying we drive inside of our soul. Our soul is like our vehicle. And as the soul is a vehicle, if you jump out of the soul keeps going. It doesn't stop. So it just keeps on going. So if you jump out and it gets far enough away and your spirit can't catch up to it and your guides can't get you back up into your little soul vehicle, then you will perish here on earth and you'll go back up there to the soul and kind of start all over.
just doesn't seem right to see so many young people dying. And we know it's,
But who says this is the better place to be here than wherever everyone else is? You know, that's what they're saying. They're saying, who says that this is the better place?
yeah,
That's the better place. Every place is just a place. So whether you're here, whether you're there, the difference is that you're separated from the ones that you love. So you get attached to people, you get attached to personalities, and you get attached to consciousness and awareness and beings that are, multidimensional beings. You get, it's like they say, the same actors can play in the same movie, but like, um, 1, 2, and 3. They talk about like Brad Pitt and Julia Roberts and George Clooney. They're all in that movie together or whatever. There's like 3 of them. They're casino movies or something. And they said that they're all the same people playing the same roles, but they're in different movies and they're different, the same producers and everything, but it's just done differently because they're different ages and they have more experience here or there. But they may go, oh, I really like the second movie better. And one may say, no, I really like the first movie better. But then they really also have their lives outside of the movie. They're just in that. So our consciousness has a life outside of this, and then it takes a little piece of itself and puts it inside of us. So it's just a little piece of our consciousness is inside of this reality. So when we leave this reality, that consciousness goes into the other pieces that are in other areas that are probably still with all the same people, the same actors, and we're probably all going to all these different movies and we're like, oh, I really like that one. And you can never, Jesus is saying, you can never do a movie over again. You can't go and film a movie for the first time ever again with all the same people and have it be the exact same experience. It's going to be completely different. But the thing about the soul plane is it's the same movie. It's just going to keep on playing, and consciousness or God consciousness or Christ consciousness will just keep going in to live inside the movie and go, oh yeah, I've got free will. I've got free will. But once we break free of having no free will, which is kind of living in a movie, we can start to create our own realities and live outside of that. And so a lot of the souls are choosing to just not live in a very dense, gross, heavy reality. They said that the world right now is like heavy metal. Like they said, it's like screamo. Have you heard of screamo?
me?
It's
No.
like the worst music in the world. No offense, screamo fans. Screamo, it's like like they're just like making these horrible noises, and you're like, oh god, it's worse than the music.
That's
It's like
that's crazy.
they just scream. And then there's this other thing called EMDR. I think. Have you heard it? They
No.
go on the microphone. They go. They chew their food in the microphone, or they go.
What? What?
Or this one girl, she goes. They just make noises,
What
and
the?
people listen to it. So Jesus and Peter just said,
Ay,
we're
ay,
living in a
ay.
world full of EMDR and screamo. Does anybody want to live in screamo and EMDR?
I can't imagine. I just can't imagine listening to something like that.
The kids these days say that it soothes them and it gets rid of their anxiety. So there's all these people, and they're on TikTok going, hi. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go like, that's what they
Oh,
do. It's like,
you're kidding.
yeah, they just make little noises, and they take like a thing and they go like, they just make noises. It sounds like little bugs or something like that. But yeah, Peter and
Ah,
Jesus are saying that the world is not that desirable to live on right now because of the frequency of it, and a lot of souls that are very high vibrational souls can't hang. They're like, they came down as babies and kids to raise the vibration of the planet, and now that
yeah.
we've made it through the time where we were supposed to go 5D, they're like, we didn't go 5D, I'm out. So they're not necessarily,
Wow.
it's not like they're suffering by being gone. The ones that are suffering are the ones that they've left behind, which they know that they haven't left them behind. They're right over there with them. We're right there with them. But that piece of us that's separate from God thinks that we've been left behind, and it's hard and it's tough to lose people that we love. But they're saying that, honor people that have passed. Jesus says, honor those who have passed away, honor those who he's saying the beauty of the story of Lazarus is that anybody has 3 days for another soul to come and say, I'll take it. I'll
Oh,
take it. I will be their soul. I will be their soul. Give it to me. Like, and then they'll come and they'll be the oversoul of that body. The body's died. The other soul's left. And the other soul comes. That's a perfectly good body. I'll take it. And that's basically what Jesus was showing. Did you talk about Lazarus? You were talking about Lazarus. Yeah. So
yeah.
Lazarus, I was kind of in channeling mode the whole time I was drawing. He's saying that it's a demonstration of, after 3 days, your consciousness will go into your etheric body and you'll rise there. But a soul will have an opportunity to come in and give you a ride here, and that you get to stay down here. So Jesus delivered brand new souls to these people is what he was doing.
Well, as the story goes, I mentioned it's a lot like you. When you're channeling and a lot of people come in and you see a lot of people, in the time of Lazarus, Jesus had Gabriel, who's the number two in charge. Gabriel was there with a whole host of universe personalities waiting for the sign. And then within 12 seconds, bingo, Lazarus was back alive again. So there's a lot of universe personalities that are involved in the making of miracles,
Yeah.
what we would call miracles. And I said, well, that's like Marisa, because when she's channeling, sometimes she just sees a whole room full of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know how to describe them as people or
They look like people. They come in like
creatures
holograms.
or personalities or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to come on to you looking almost in human form.
Yeah, they do.
Um,
It doesn't mean they're human. It's because I'm in a human. They say because you're in a human, you're going to see him as human. Because you're
yeah.
in a human, you have arms and legs. You're going to see angels with arms and legs. You're going to see fairies with wings and arms and legs. But like Gabriel looks like a big, huge lion head with like weird like horns sticking out of all around his head, and like he just looks like he spins.
Well, he's number two. I mean, he is like
He's the force that
if
created our reality.
if
He's the force that created our
if
reality.
Christ Michael created our universe, and we call him the president, Gabriel is the vice president.
Gabriel
He's number two.
Gabriel. Peter goes, he's the secretary.
No, I don't think so.
Secretary of the, not the secretary like a secretary, but like what's the secretary in like the
A Secretary of State.
yeah, what's that do?
I don't know. The Secretary of State is the person, at least in the United States, that travels around and tries to keep the world safe.
Gabriel.
Because he meets with all the presidents and whatever or equivalents from different countries of his title to just keep the world safe. That's
Sounds
what
like Gabriel,
Secretary.
right? He went and
Yeah,
met
I
with
guess.
he met with everyone to let him know what was going on. Yeah, he's kind of like He's a deliverer of messages, and he brings, but he's the force. By him saying these things to people, it's what makes it happen. It's kind of like the thing that you fear as a psychic or an intuitive, that, you know, someone goes, oh, am I going to meet my soulmate? And you don't want to be like, oh, nah, I'm not going to tell you. It's like, well, I see that you're, you know, you're going to be happy, and you're going to be looking, you want to tell them something positive, you know, and not if you don't see anything positive, but, you know, and it's kind of like that fear that any psychic has. You don't want to tell anybody anything, because then they're going to grasp onto it, and they're going to be like, that's the truth. And then they're going to make it happen. So it feels like Gabriel has to be very careful about the messages that he brings people, because they make religions out of him, or what he said and stuff like that. And we try to worship everything that comes down here, and turn everything into a god, is what Peter's saying. He goes, oh mighty, oh mighty. He's like worshiping Jesus' foot, and Jesus goes, kicks him in the head.
Those two.
I know, they're so funny. But yeah, so Gabriel says, hold on, let me see. I'm Gabriel. I am the king of thrones, the throne of kings, the king of throne and the throne of kings. For I bring into you a frequency, a wave, a pattern, a shape, a sound, a number. For I am transported through the holographic frequencies in that which you are. For each of you are made up of millions of spirals and spiral graphs, or like that spirograph game where you like he's showing me spirographs. He says spirograph upon spirograph upon spirograph. And in this interweaving of the universe, this is where we can begin to place our consciousness within it. Like he's showing like somebody that is like the loom, or like the you know, they make like a blanket, or they do the wool or whatever. He says, imagine the blanket, and you're making this blanket. The blanket then lays out upon like it just hovers, you know, it's not on the earth, it's not anywhere, it's just a blanket just kind of there. He says, imagine that blanket there, and that's the foundation, that's what you have built, that's the canvas in which you've created. That canvas makes sound. So when you put something on it, like your mind or a thought, it will turn into the sound that blanket has within it. They're showing like the blanket having like a sound or a frequency. So if it has like a real high pitch and you go in it, you're going to be a real high pitch person. If it's low pitch, you're going to be like a real low pitch person. Whatever that blanket is, you are. He says that blanket is the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the creator of the reality in which you're in, because it absorbs the sounds and the frequencies that we put in it. So when we place these sounds and frequencies within this blanket of time, or this blanket of space, this blanket in which you are all interwoven into, and you're all cut from this cloth, cut from this blanket, the Holy Spirit, you're all made divinely the same, in a sense, with the same frequency, with the same tune, with the same intention. And the Holy Spirit is abundance, love, gratitude, faith, creation, and exploratory curiosity. This is what your universe is based on. But we place this into this Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit then is bigger than any of you could ever possibly imagine, but smaller than any of you could possibly imagine at the same time. It's this big, and it's bigger than you can ever possibly imagine, but all of it, even a drop of it, is just the same as all of it together. One tiny drop is the same amplitude as the whole thing. So when each of you have this Holy Spirit within you, you can tune into this and know and understand that you'll be tuned into that which is good within you. And this is something that stays, quote unquote, good in this universe. And this is something that you can lean on, and that you can know is there for you. And this is why we say, lean on the Holy Spirit. Ask for the Holy Spirit. Ask for it to blanket over you. Ask for it to bring to you what you need, and you will have exactly what you need. We'll continue to create it, to bring it, and to see it, and to know it. And in that, we will be bringing it to the world. There is a greater spirit, a great, great Holy Spirit, in the sense that is above all of us, that's created all of us. We are in its blanket, so to speak. But there's blanket upon blanket upon blanket upon blanket upon blanket, and that create wrinkles of time, wrinkles in time, that create time and space, that create this reality in which we live. It's bigger than you could ever possibly imagine. So just know and understand that you are part of a vast, vast, vast universe. But at the same time, the only important thing right now is to have fun, enjoy your life, enjoy those that you love, be with those that you love, do the things that you enjoy, and don't do things that you don't enjoy. Don't do things you don't enjoy in the sense that you're hurting yourself or you're hurting others. Make sure that you find the joy in life, and make sure you hang on to that tightly, and just know and understand that you are here to enjoy your life, to joke around, to laugh, to play, and to not take things so seriously. we bless you. And Peter said, what did you do?
Very interesting.
He just spun off and like danced away.
I think that's kind of a universal message that I think we've always gotten. That if somebody says, what is the meaning of life?
Mm-hmm.
The meaning of life is to enjoy this gift.
Well, some people will say it's to work hard, it's to make money, it's to, you know, like people will say different things depending on who you're talking to.
Well, sometimes making money is enjoying life. You know, some people like to make money because they like to do good things with it.
Yeah.
As Jesus said, he says there's no harm in wealth. It's what you do with it.
I enjoy
It's what you do with it. Or if you're living for it, if you're living for that wealth, then you're all screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I can just think back. I mean, I didn't despise working, and I enjoyed making money when I made the money.
Mm-hmm.
I think the worst part of my life was when I had the most money, unfortunately, because then I started going, oh my God, I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose it. You know, once you get to the point where you go, oh my God, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. Well, what do you say? You start focusing, whatever you focus on is what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it was terrible. I wasn't, well, I've always tried to be somewhat generous, even when I was lacking in funds. But anyway, no, the whole thing about life is to just enjoy it, be happy, be grateful for the children you've got and the parents you've got and the friends that you've got and the walk of life that you've got. I feel bad for those that are in such a funk that they can't find happiness.
They need to have the Holy Spirit within them, and they need to get rid of the thought of, they need to ask for the fabric of their existence to show them what it feels like to just be them without being them. Because the people that are in the funk are stuck in identities. They're like, I'm this political party, I'm for this candidate, I'm for this medicine or not medicine, or I'm against this, or the world's going to come to an end if this happens, or whatever. It's like the world may be coming to an end, but there's going to be the people in life that know how to have fun while the world's coming to an end by not even focusing on it. They'll just enjoy their family and their friends, and they'll just pretend like there's not bombs going off outside, or, you know, whatever. It's everyone focusing on the outside, they're saying, is what causes people to be in a funk. Focusing on the fabric of life inside of us is what brings us pure bliss.
Wow.
That's a good message to the end.
Well, it's hard to convince somebody that's in such a dire funk. I mean, I remember when I was losing everything. I mean, everything. You know, I was living up in San Marcos at that time. It was even after you had left me and gone off your way. I was constantly in a funk. I would get up early in the morning and I would read all these inspirational books, and I'd read the Bible and all these other things, and I just couldn't find the happiness. I just could not find the happiness. And be honest with you, I finally started finding happiness when something told me, well, stop paying your bills, stop paying for your house. It's a waste of time. Just let the bank have it back. And that was in 2009, and I was ready to live under a bridge somewhere. And I just was not happy. Everything in my life had gone kind of haywire. And I don't know. I think just by that mere fact, I just, something within me said, just can it. Don't try to save it anymore. Just go about living your life. And I did. I stopped paying on that. And the money I started making, I just started saving. I ended up in 2011 buying my condo in PV. I was very happy about that. And then eventually I made up enough to buy my house in Los Cocos as well. And I was playing golf almost every day. Every day I was thoroughly enjoying my life. No, I don't golf anymore, but I thoroughly enjoy raising a child down here in Mexico. Yeah. If Tawny wasn't in my life, I'd probably be spending a lot more time in California and probably golfing with my friends. Yeah. But I think it's a good trade-off. Tawny is something just very special, and she's a very special girl, and she's very special in my life, and she's going to do good things. There's just something about her that she's going to be special. I just know she's going to be special.
She already is. Charity is special.
Yeah. So anyway, you got anything else to talk about today?
I don't
or
have
otherwise?
anything else. They had the Holy Spirit thing they wanted to say, and they said the thing about the souls. That no, they actually came through with a lot of stuff. And then I'm going to go home to my kids who are probably dying for mommy to come home because they know I'll give them a piece of candy.
Okay. Oh.
And Madison, if you're
Well,
watching,
they got buckets full of candy from yesterday. From what I saw, they got a lot of candy yesterday.
Oh man, you should. When we were trying to get a picture of them for you, like, hi, Papa, Buddy was like, happy birthday, Papa, like screaming. I was like, oh my gosh, this kid has had a lot of candy. He was like, he was just like all ramped up on, and he wouldn't stop. He was like, my mission is candy, and he kept going and going. He went and emptied his bucket at home and went and got another bucket full of candy.
Oh God.
He was on a mission.
Well, good luck with that. That sugar high is gonna.
We're gonna hide it. We already hid the candy, but that's why I'm sure they're waiting for me to come home so that they can be like, Mommy, can I have a piece of candy?
Well, go home.
Sure
I know I brought because Tawny's so upset because they don't have Halloween down here in Mexico, and
it's probably good that way because Halloween's creepy.
Yeah. They call it Dia de Muerto. It's a day to. It's like a 3-day period from Halloween till November 3rd or something like that, where they honor the dead. So you'll see a lot of people down here at the mortuaries, at the grave sites, bringing lots of flowers and things to their dearly departed. So I brought her a bunch of candy. I brought her a bunch of 99-cent store candy that isn't 99 cents anymore, and everything's going up. And I brought her that, so she got a bunch of candy. She's got a bunch of candy, but we don't let her just dive into it. We're like you. Okay, you can go have one now.
Yeah. And
that's it. So it's going to last her for a while. So anyway, Mommy, go home. Go take care of your children. Thank you for popping in today. And I just caught this cold. I just crazy.
Nose is all stuffed up.
I know, I'm all stuffed up, and I got this cough. If I start coughing, I can't stop coughing.
Me and Madison both had a stuffy nose today.
Oh gosh! I hope I didn't give you something.
We may have all just caught it at the exact same time.
Well, I think it's going around. I think there's some flu bug or something going around. You know, people get the yearly in their arm and
shed it all over everyone.
Yeah, they give you the stinking thing.
They inject
How can they go? Okay, let's see. We're going to give a bazillion people the arm. Because we know which virus is going to be coming this year, so we're going to protect them. BS. They give it. They give it so that people can spread it, so that they can go buy cold medicines and things like that.
There was no flu last year or the year before because they didn't put it into society. So we'll cut that out.
That's all right. No, we didn't go outside of our bounds too much there. Anyway. So. Anyway, well, listen, go home, take care of your family.
Okay.
And thank you, everybody. I'm Joe Morris with Answers Heaven Speaks. Bye, Pooker.
All right, bye, Papa. Love you.
I love you, too.
Tell Tanya I said hi, and Drew I said hi, and I love them.
I will.
I'm like, is that Drew? I'm like, that's not Drew. That's Tiffany in the background.
Great. Well, say hi to Tiffany for me.
Okay, bye, Papa. Love you.
Bye. Go ahead and get out. I'll say hi. We had a bunch of people in here live today.
All right.
And thanks to so many others that will be coming on later as well. So go ahead. I gotta get you out of there to see everybody. There she goes. So let's see who came in. We had a lot of people in here today. Julia, thank you, Julia. Reese, thank you. Marisa Sandoval, thank you. Julia again. Maria, Gleva, Tiffany. Hi, Tiffany. Marisa, Natalie. What'd I do? Ben, thank you for hopping in there. Sheila. Who else? We got Julia again, Marissa, Anna Maria. Lots of Marissa saying, I'm here. Yes, I'm here. Julia, thank you. Marissa. Oh gosh, all these. Anna Maria again. Thank you. One word things. If somebody was asking a question, I'm trying to see. A lot of Glenn and Marissa. Shireen, good to see you, Shireen. Anna Maria again. Gladys, Elvira. Bravo, Galarza. Thanks, Gladys. I appreciate it. Sarah. Sarah, Julia, Sarah. And good, we had a bunch of people in there today, and thanks again. That's just a little sampling of who end up watching this. And again, as you can see, I'll come across with a Christian message and a story about Jesus, and Marisa adds a little spice to it. So again, it's bridging the gap, bridging the gap, bridging the gap between Christianity and spirituality. And we learned a little bit from Gabriel today. So anyway, y'all have a good Tuesday. I was going to say Monday, but I missed the show yesterday. Have yourself a good Tuesday night, and do what Gabriel said. Just be happy. Find a way to be happy. Just happy. That's what our whole life is supposed to be. We're supposed to find the good in this dualistic society, dualistic nature of our earth. There's good and evil. That battle takes place up in the ethers every day. And the bad guy wants your soul, and the good guy wants your soul. And your life would just be a whole lot better if you always reach out for the good in life. Reach out for the good in life. Don't be chasing the bad. And there's a big difference, and the difference between good and bad. So that's it. Joe Morris, Answers Heaven Speaks. God willing, I'll be back here tomorrow, and maybe I won't be as stuffed up as I am right now. So God bless. I'll catch y'all. Have a good night. Have a good Wednesday. Tomorrow's Wednesday? Yeah, I guess if this Tuesday. Yeah, Marisa, I don't know how much Marisa will be able to get in here tomorrow because she does do a show over on Patreon. But anyway, we'll see what happens. All right. Take care. God bless. We'll catch you next time.